what's the best podcast about affordable housing investments, you will see our podcast that comes up. Boom, here it is. Now, you might wonder, how do we do this, right? So, the last couple of days, I showed you how I edited the entire podcast episode. Today, I want to show you just how we get all of the reels, the clips from the podcast to promote the overall podcast so that you can see, one, how do we structure the information in the captions for each platform, and two, how to update the captions so that our podcast is discoverable by large language models such as ChatGPT, Gemini, all this stuff. So let me kind of show you, right? So tomorrow, let's say we scheduled this tomorrow. This is the kind of workflow. And we talk about how project we present developers still work for even without long. We have greater capital stacks, public hardness, and confidence without waiting years for allocations to make. Boom. All right. I love this. So you can kind of see how we have a takeaway, right? On Instagram, our takeaway is primarily to say, hey, DM me the word Sorensen so I can give them the podcast link. That is me saying, this is what you do. You message, comment. I'm going to do comment or DM me, Swearington. Okay, great. And now for YouTube, it's going to be slightly different, right? So on a YouTube video, I say, on the latest episode of Affordable Housing Real Estate Investing, the best podcast for affordable housing investments, hosted by Ken Fahey. You're going to see this verbiage over and over on all my content because I want to be the best podcast about affordable housing investments. I'm structuring my verbiage for how someone will search about affordable housing investments. I don't want to be about affordable housing because sometimes it's very policy related. National Housing Director. National Affordable Housing Director from Swearington. Shows developers can still make workforce housing projects pencils, even without tax credits. Patrick explains how creative funding combinations, land partnerships, and construction innovation allow projects to stay feasible. So this is very important, right? I want to make sure that the questions that this video answers is very straightforward so that it can be found later. Boom. Okay. Now, here's the thing. I'm still editing all of these reels, and I want to make sure I can tell Pia, my editor, so now I'm telling Pia that, hey, we need to tell ChatGPT to tell us how to prompt it so that it stops doing these long M dashes. I don't know about you, but whenever I see these long M dashes, I automatically associate it with ChatGPT, and I don't like reading it. That's my personal opinion. But if I'm giving that opinion, I want to be really, really refined with my details. I don't want the content to be ignored or to be discredited simply because it was written by AI. So this is why I'm making such a huge focus on these items right here. professor. Okay, great. So now I'm editing all the verbiage right here. Also, so I want to update a few of these. And I want to give feedback to Pia so that they know what to look at. I'm only going to edit a couple of reels right now. National Affordable Housing Director at Sorensen. Explains how mass timbers and environmental speed advantage and to be offset by insurance premiums and coke. Boom. I like that. That's a pretty good. That's a pretty good one. Okay. Afterwards, I just updated the verbiage for 2, Patrick 8, and Patrick. Explain what the question really is and why. This was a pretty good one. Yeah, this is good. Getting consensus from the engineer community isn't easy. Yeah, this is pretty good. So on my Instagram post, it's much more short here. On my YouTube video posts, you can see that I get much more descriptive about what the question is. And the reason I want to do that is so that if anyone, let's say they are a developer or they are a city and they want to learn how to apply what I'm doing to what they're doing, this is a very, very great way for you to go about showing up in ChatGPT. This is why I do this, because if the content doesn't get discovered, then I don't really help anyone. So this is why I spend so much time at the very end of it. So I spend a lot of time, obviously, interviewing the guests, talking with them. During the middle of it, getting these podcasts to a stage where it's at a really, really high level and I'm able to surface the content appropriately to the right people, that's important. So for me, I might try to search this question, right? What is a partial seismic retrofit in 2 or 3 weeks from now? And I want to be able to see whether or not my reel, my podcast episode, my clip actually shows up on ChatGPT. This is going to be really, really fun. I'll put on my calendar so I can remind myself in 3 weeks to do this. So this is what I'm doing right now. So I kind of just went through the next 4 days. Now I can give some edits, some feedback back to Pia on my team, who's going to help me with all these edits. Then after she goes through her round of edits, I can come back in. And the reason I don't do this all myself is because I have to learn how to delegate. I have to learn how to trust my team to take the direction that I'm giving them and be able to implement this. So this is why it's so fun. I love doing this. And I know this is going to help so many people because Patrick's podcast today that we released, if you haven't seen it today, make sure you check it out. I mean, this was so good. We talked about some of the most advanced types about construction, the different construction types, so that you can figure out whether or not this is right for you. This is fire. Like, you have to learn this stuff. And this allows you to figure out what is worth a while pursuing, what's the right approach, and what's the pros and cons of all. So hopefully this helps everybody. I'll see you all tomorrow for the 774.